Hello dear traders, welcome to the video number 9 in the series Trading Forex Scanner Masterclass. In this video we will look together at the indicator matrix, which is an extremely important indicator in the analysis of price action in our basket trading strategy. So what does this matrix indicator represent? To make it simple, it shows the history of the power indicator. So for example, here in the sterling, the line here is recording all the past numbers of the sterling and marking new points here. Why it is very important? Because especially during volatile time, you might have a sudden change of strength or weakness of one particular pair here, and the power will show a number being 5, -5, 6, but not knowing the history doesn't help you differentiate between a sudden movement or long-term movements. The long-term movements are the one that will be long enough to show us a good trend. But if there is a sudden movement and from 1 hour to the other the sterling will go from -1 to -6, thanks to the matrix indicator, seeing that it has been, for example, flat and suddenly went to -6, will give us an additional confirmation that the trend is not healthy enough, mature enough for us to consider entering and considering this currency. It's important to mention that the matrix is the only indicator that will not show you the strength of or the weakness of one currency pair, just like the RSI, for example, that will show in one currency pair and will show you the strength or weakness of the currency pair. It shows you the strength or the weakness of one particular currency, thanks to the indicator power that will measure this in correlation with all the currency pairs of that particular currency. Second, the matrix is showing the history of the strength of the indicator power, not based on its previous movement like any oscillator, which is based on a moving average. Let's say the euro dollar will show you the strength or weakness of the euro dollar in comparison with its previous movements. With a period, for example, of 14, then it will be the past 14 hours if we're using the 1 hour time frame. In the case of the matrix, it's showing the history of the strength or weakness of the currency, not against its past periods, but against the other currency pairs. And that's why we have the possibility to compare one currency against another and understanding the most interesting currency pairs to consider. As we can see here, the sterling stayed weak for a good amount of time. In its history, the yen stayed positive. There was no cross of the zero line. Therefore, the sterling and the yen shows us that they have relatively a good amount of strength for the yen and weakness for the sterling. And if we open the chart, we can confirm that we have a healthy downtrend. Before even looking at the chart, I already have a clear indication of the trend just by looking at the matrix. Let's have a look at another one. If I click here on one currency, then all the charts will change to that particular currency, and in the matrix, the line will change to that currency as well. So let's have a look at the Swiss franc, for example. The Swiss franc pairs open and the Swiss franc replaced the sterling. Now, if I want to compare it to another pair, let's say the euro, then I will not click on the currency, but I will click on the power number. So I'm going to click here on the euro. As you can see, there is a circle here on the yen because this is the one that we have here. Now, if I click on the euro, then the euro will replace the yen here. Here it is. Now, as a clear indication, what do we see? They are both weak. The euro has been weak for some time. It's been touching zero. The Swiss franc is weaker than the euro. So by a clear indication, I would see that the euro Swiss franc might be going down, but I will not have a healthy trend. I open the pair and what do I see? The euro Swiss franc in the short term is going down, but I don't have any healthy trends. Now let's look at the Australian, for example, that is positive, replace. The Australian was at zero for a long time. Therefore, the Australian very recently has gained in strength, which is losing and gaining back to zero. We have an Australian strong and a Swiss franc weak. However, the Australian doesn't look good because it's losing in the recent time its strength. Let's open. What do we have? We could have started with a healthy trend, unfortunately, the Australian is losing its trend. And once you get to practice, you will see that by looking at the power, looking at the matrix, you will get to choose the perfect pair even before starting to look at the chart. You will still look at them and you will confirm with the locks, with the breakout, with the GMT7. All of this will come after. But the matrix indicator helps you gain a lot of time by quickly switching from one currency to the other after having the confirmation of which one were the best with the power indicator. At one glance, I have only the yen here that is at -3. It's not even weak across the boards, but this is the only currency that we can potentially consider. The other ones are too close to 0. We don't have anything above 4 or below 4. The only one to consider first is the yen. So I can open the yen here. I see that the yen historically it had some strength. Then I cannot compare it to the other positive or at 0 currencies, because as you can see, for example, here on the CAD yen, both of them being yellow, the CAD being sideways, we can't consider it for these currency pairs. Here the Swiss franc is negative, so it's okay. The euro is also negative. The sterling is also negative. The New Zealand is at 0. And the dollar is at 0. But if I click here, I know that the dollar is with a flat line here. That's why I would not even consider it. I go back to the New Zealand. It's been flirting against 0. Not interesting. The sterling has been relatively low, just touch 0 but stays within the negative area, so potentially interesting. Same thing for the euro, which is going between the 0 and the -1. Let's have a look at the Swiss franc. The Swiss franc, which was flat negative and went even more weak, so potentially is the most interesting. As you can see, the gap between the two currencies, the wider it is, the better the trend will be. And the other one, as you can see, being at 0 and 0.5 are not interesting. So I have so much indication at one glance of an eye that I can look at the power, I can look at the matrix, and literally within 2 minutes know which currency and potentially which currency pairs to consider for a basket. And that's it for the matrix indicator. Once again, I invite you to practice and practice again, especially that you have a simulator, which is a risk-free environment. And in the next video, we will talk more details about the simulator in order to give you a certain strategies and the reason why we have 3 baskets to trade 1, 2, or 3 baskets together. Until then, I wish you a happy trading. Bye bye.